Have you ever stopped to think that there are people earning $3, $4, $5,000 a month and still ending the month at zero? Not negative, not in debt, at zero. As if the money simply evaporated. And the scariest part isn't that. The scariest part is that those same people believe the problem is their salary, that if they earned more, everything would change. But here's what no one tells you. There are people earning $10,000 a month doing exactly the same thing, ending at zero. Every single month. This isn't bad luck. It isn't a high cost of living. It isn't inflation. It's math. And when you understand this math, you'll realize the problem was never how much you earn. It was what happens to the money after it hits your account. My name is Tim, and I spend way too much time studying why smart people with real income stay stuck in a financial cycle that goes nowhere. If you really want to understand what's happening to your money, not the polished version sold by self-help books, but the real version, with numbers, stay with me until the end. Because what I'm about to show you will change how you see every dollar that passes through your hands. Let's start with an example that will feel way too familiar. Imagine someone earning $8,000 a month. Sounds like a lot, right? Like the kind of income that should solve problems. But let's look at where that money goes, dollar by dollar, without any sugarcoating. Rent or mortgage, $2,500. Car. And usually, there are 2 cars at this income level because we deserve it. Another $1,800 between payments and insurance. Food, restaurants, delivery, $800, subscriptions, streaming, gym, apps, $250, clothes, electronics, on-sale purchases, $300, nights out, small trips, entertainment, $400. Credit card payments from previous months, $600, taxes and deductions, already gone before you even saw the money. At the end of the month, what's left? Almost nothing. Sometimes literally nothing. And here's the point most people get completely wrong when analyzing this situation. They look at this list and think, the problem is that he spends too much on one specific thing. But that's not it. The problem isn't one item on the list. The problem is the entire structure of the list. Because in this list, money has only one destination, consumption. There's no line called future. There's no line called investment. There isn't even a line called savings. Every dollar that comes in is assigned one job, to leave. And this has a technical name. Economists call it consumption, proportional to income. But in practice, it works like this. The more you earn, the more you spend, not proportionally, completely. You upgrade your lifestyle at the exact speed your income increases, often a little faster because credit cards let you spend today what you haven't earned yet. This also has another name, lifestyle inflation, and it's silent, gradual, and completely devastating to any chance of building real wealth. Think about it this way. When you were earning $3,000 a month, you thought that if you made $5,000, you'd have $2,000 left to save. When you got to $5,000, you upgraded your apartment, your car, your lifestyle, and discovered you had exactly the same left as before, nothing. Then you thought, if I get to $8,000? And then you did. And the cycle repeated. Income doubled. Leftover stayed at zero. This isn't a character flaw. It isn't a lack of discipline. It's an extremely predictable mathematical pattern that happens when you don't have a system that separates money from consumption before it hits your checking account. And here's where the brutal math behind this video comes in. There's a fundamental difference between money you earn and money that works for you. Most people, regardless of how much they make, have 100% of their income in the first category. Every dollar comes from their time, their energy, their physical or mental presence somewhere. If they stop working, the money stops coming in. It's a direct, linear relationship with zero leverage. Money that works for you is different. You invest once, and it keeps generating returns while you sleep, while you work, while you're on vacation. The difference between these two categories is the difference between building wealth and simply surviving comfortably. And here comes the number most people have never calculated about their own lives. Let's take that same person earning $8,000 a month. Suppose they work for 40 years. 40 years of income, effort, and time. The total gross amount that passes through their hands during that period is approximately $3.8 million, almost $4 million. Now answer this. Do you know someone who earned $4 million over their lifetime and reached retirement without proportional wealth? You probably do, because the problem was never how much came in. It was what stayed. And what stays depends on a decision most people never consciously make. How much of what comes in goes to today's consumption, and how much goes to building tomorrow. There's a simple rule that separates people who build wealth from those who don't, and it has nothing to do with how much you earn. It has to do with the order in which you use your money. Most people do this. Get paid, pay bills, spend what's left, and at the end of the month, try to save whatever remains, which is usually zero. That's called saving what's left. And the problem is structural. Most months, there's nothing left. People who build wealth reverse the order. Get paid, set aside a fixed percentage for investment first, and live on the rest. This is called paying yourself first. It sounds simple. It is simple, but it changes everything. Because when you save what's left, you rely on discipline at the hardest moment, when the money is already in your account and already has emotional destinations. When you pay yourself first, you remove discipline from the equation. The money leaves before you can spend it. Let's see what this difference produces mathematically. The same person, $8,000 a month. If they set aside just 15% of their gross income, $1,200 a month, and invest consistently at an average return of 8% per year, in 25 years, they'll have approximately $1.2 million invested. Not because they earned a lot, not because they got lucky, but because a small number, applied consistently over time, produces results that seem impossible to those who've never looked at the math up close. But most people don't do this. And the reason isn't lack of knowledge. Everyone knows they should save money. The real reason is that immediate consumption always feels more urgent than an abstract future. Your brain wasn't designed to value something that will happen in 25 years the same way it values something that can happen tonight. That's not weakness. That's biology. Humans survived for thousands of years by prioritizing the present. The problem is that this instinct, useful for hundreds of thousands of years, is catastrophic in a modern financial system where wealth is built slowly over decades. And companies know this. The entire consumption system is built to exploit that exact weakness. Affordable monthly payments, credit cards that let you spend now and suffer later, limited time offers that create artificial urgency, constant upgrades that make what you have feel insufficient. All of this architecture exists for one purpose, to turn your future income into present consumption. And it works. It works so well that people with great incomes reach middle age with no real assets, dependent on working indefinitely because there's no other option. But here's the shift that needs to happen in your mind. The money you don't spend today doesn't disappear. It changes form. It turns into future time, into options that you'll have and others won't, into the freedom to work because you want to, not because you have to, into the ability to say no to situations that no longer serve you. Every dollar you invest at 30 is worth, in terms of impact on your life at 50, about 4 times more than a dollar invested at 40. Not twice, not double. 4 times. That's what compound interest does with time. And the only way to capture that value is to start early. But there's another layer to this math that most people completely ignore. And it's probably the most important part of all. It's not just money that grows, it's the cost of not having money. When you don't have a financial cushion, every unexpected event becomes an emergency. Car breakdown, medical expense, temporary loss of income. For someone without reserves, these events carry a huge cost. Not just the problem itself, But the cost of emergency credit, high-interest credit cards, personal loans taken because there was no other option. Someone without savings solves a $500 problem by paying $700, $800, sometimes over $1,000 once interest is added. They not only failed to accumulate, they're constantly paying an invisible tax on every crisis life throws at them. Meanwhile, someone with an emergency fund solves the same problem with $500. No interest, no stress, no disruption to their long-term financial plan. The cumulative difference between these two paths over a lifetime is massive, not because one person is smarter than the other, but because having money available is a real economic advantage, and not having it is a real economic disadvantage. The math is cold and impartial here. So what do you do with all this? First, accept that the problem was never income. If you're waiting for a raise to fix your financial life without changing how you use money, you're about to discover that $10,000 a month produces exactly the same results as $5,000 a month. Income doesn't solve the problem. The system does. Second, define a fixed investment percentage before doing anything else with your money. Not what's left. A fixed percentage that leaves automatically on the first day after you get paid. Even if it's 10%. Even if it's 5% at the beginning, the habit matters more than the initial amount. Third, build an emergency fund before thinking about more sophisticated investments. 3 to 6 months of basic expenses in a safe, accessible place. This isn't really an investment. It's protection. It's what prevents every setback from destroying your progress. Fourth, stop calculating the cost of things in monthly payments. Calculate the real cost, the total cost, plus the opportunity cost of what that money could become if invested. A $30,000 car doesn't cost $30,000. It costs over $150,000 in future value if you had 25 years to invest that money at average market returns. Fifth, understand that the goal isn't to be miserable now to be rich later. The goal is to be intentional. Spend heavily on what truly matters to you, and cut ruthlessly on things you consume out of habit, social pressure, or because everyone has it. Wealth isn't about deprivation. It's about conscious choice. You can earn $10,000 a month and have nothing to show for it 20 years from now. Or you can earn half of that with a smart financial system and reach 50 with real freedom. The difference isn't income. It's the math you choose to follow. And that math starts with the decision you can make today.